Our chair, I'll call the Academic Distress Committee to order, and there being a quorum present, the item on the agenda today is to review the Pine Bluff School District, and there is no specific legal statute about how we do what, so, and Helen and West Helen, both of you, right? Okay. Good. Do you want to go in alphabetical order or the order that it's listed? Okay. Okay. Let me get to that part of my agenda. Helena, West Helena's first, and they are furthest away, so we'll start there. I can't pull that up. Somebody come and help me pull this up. Still got it on that other one. Mr. Hoy here? There you are. I couldn't see you.
Thank you, Ms. Zucker.
I don't know if I'm not tall enough or you're not, but if you'll give your presentation, and then if we have any specific questions or if you have any other people that you want to present, that will be fine as well.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. For the record, my name is John Hoy, Superintendent, Helena West Helena School District. I have with me Mr. Andrew Bagley, the Advisory Board President, and Mr. Ernest Simpson, the high school principal of the school in question, Central High School in Helena West Helena School District. The bottom line on academic distress is the State Department and the Office of Accountability looks at the percentage of students proficient over 3 years in your district, and they do that each and every single year. So what I did in terms of my presentation to you guys, I sent you a little graph on the last page of my actual presentation, and what it shows is that while we are below the 49.5 required by the state, we have increased that percentage every single year, starting at 43 something and going to 44 something, at 48 something this year, and that's despite the changing of the assessments. I do understand that with the changing of the assessment this year, the park, going to the park assessment from the benchmark, there had to be a concordance, and I know that when I was at this board the last time, a number of schools looking to remove themselves from academic stress talked about how theirs had gotten lower with the concordance. Ours did not get lower even with the concordance. As a matter of fact, when we got that thing, we decided to kind of compare ourselves and see how we were doing to other schools around us. There are not many schools over in that side of the state that were outperforming us. So we felt like while the scores were not where we wanted them to be, we felt like at least we were at the point that we're starting to be competitive with our peers over in the Eastern Arkansas Delta. And with our thinking is we'd like to get even better than that. So let me tell you a few other things that you may or may not be interested in. That they're not nothing else I say to you will be tied to the label of academic distress, but they're just some indicators that you may be interested in Helena West Helena School District. First of all, let me start with the news that's not good news, but it's all on the report cards and you can see it. It's the ACT scores have remained flat. I'm hoping that that changes itself now that we are able to focus on the Aspire assessment, which is an ACT-driven assessment. But in terms of some other things, in terms of the culture, I believe you might have talked a little bit about that earlier today. We've seen the number of expulsions at our school district go down over the years consistently. We've seen the dropout rate go down. We've seen the graduation rate go up every year in the last 3 years. So if you go back and look at report cards, you'll see that kind of data with the Helena West Helena School District. So our thinking is that we're starting to turn the corner, starting to get a little bit better, starting to make the kind of improvement. What I'm hoping is a snowball effect. A little bit will make a lot of difference as you gain momentum. So that's what we're looking at in Helena West Helena School District. In terms of fixing all the things that's broken, there are things broken in the district. There's no doubt about that. I think there may be things broken in most districts around the state. Whether or not you're in academic stress, there's always things you want to try to fix. However, when I went through the district 2 years ago, the main thing I put on the table for everybody is I wanted to make certain two things were happening. I had two basic questions. Are we teaching the right stuff, and are the kids getting it? Those were my two. We set out a focus to try to figure out whether that was being done. We started out by trying to do classroom walkthroughs through the old classroom walkthrough system that the state had in place, found out that that was no longer in place. However, we were persistent enough with it and got enough support from the people who work from the State Department working with us through Ms. Streeter's office that we designed our own classroom walkthrough instrument. We've utilized it over the last couple of years. Ms. Streeter is proud, and she's been proud to say this to me, so I got the number memorized now. She said over the course of this year, our district administrators have been in classrooms 47 times on different campuses, and we've been to every campus in the district. And we're trying to figure out if we're teaching the right stuff and the kids are getting it. Now, with those walkthroughs, I know she can probably give you the numbers and the breakdowns and all that, but just in terms of plain observation, one of the things that seemed to have gotten my attention that I've shared with principals as we leave the buildings is the level of engagement. For me, that has been an issue in our district. Not that we don't have pockets of excellence, we do, and everybody sees it, but we've got areas also of concern. What we were thinking and what we did in terms of our meetings is decided that, well, what we need to do is maybe take some of those pockets of excellence and let them show some of the other people how they're doing, what they're doing, ask questions. Because one of the things that I find to be true is that it's difficult for someone that doesn't know our situation, our students, and our community to come in and fix our schools. But the people that are in our schools, fixing our schools one classroom at a time, seems to know how to fix our children. We fix our classrooms, we fix our instructions, we fix our schools. So that's my story. I'm prepared to take questions. I have others here prepared to take questions if you have them. Oh, one other thing I did intend to mention to you, I just want you guys to understand that academic distress at high school is not just a metric of our high school. We've got schools that feed into that high school, and we're working on trying to improve all of them. So as we improve all of them, then I think we'll also improve the high school. It'll take a little time, but that's the idea.
I would think that as your scores improve, it shows that as the seniors graduate and you bring the ninth graders or the eighth graders up, that shows that the students coming in are coming in with a higher level of skills than before. But one thing I wanted to ask you about, as the scores improve, do you see the incidence of need for discipline go down?
In our district, that has been the case. And I don't, one of the things that I asked our leadership team is, why did this happen? What caused the scores to get better? What caused the discipline? And it's hard to put your finger on that. The reason why is there's so many programs in our district. We have a lot. I think we may have too many. But in terms of trying to evaluate those programs, we haven't gotten really good at that yet. That's a personal push of mine because of the role that I've played in my background. So as we speak, I'm gathering numbers right now on after-school programs to see if we can find a correlation to the last test, or maybe, well, to the current test, ACT Aspire we just took. Because until we start to measure those things and find the correlations to the thing we're looking for, it's hard to know what has actually caused the success. And when you don't know what caused it, it's hard to repeat it. So the idea will be to evaluate programs, see what's working, and whether or not what you're saying is accurate. Kids are coming over better, or we just got better programs and they're fixing the problems as we find them.
Okay. Mr. Black, do you have any questions? Mr. Williamson?
You got listed on your report 2 external providers. Have they been effective, do you think, in your improvement?
Okay, so let me tell you how I address that. The way I address that is that in terms of trying to evaluate whether any provider is effective in their improvement, you have to just kind of look at what caused us to be in the situation in the first place, and that is the percentage of students not proficient. That has gone up. Can I make a direct correlation to the external providers? I don't think so. And the 2 external providers work in 2 distinct areas. One external provider, elbow to elbow, works specifically with the special education teachers in that program. I know that she has already been engaged in professional development with question and engagement techniques for those teachers. As a matter of fact, I was reading one of her reports and I ran down to the special education coordinator at the time and said, okay, can she do that for some of the others? Can I come see what she's doing? And I kept having these schedule conflicts. It's something about superintendent that causes you to have to sign a lot of papers and be in a lot of places that you don't want to be. But when I get a chance to, I try to go and look at those things that are being successful in our district so I can get a better feel from whether that can be applicable to the entire district. Okay. So to answer your question, I don't know.
Don't know. Okay. Well, I think everybody needs to say that at least once a day.
Okay.
Ms. Newton?
Yes, I had a couple of questions. One of the things I noticed in one of your leadership team meetings, you said that you talked to the principals about letting the textbooks drive the curriculum.
Okay, I thought that might come up. Let me tell you why that did come up. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you what I told. Yeah, I might as well go ahead and tell you. every now and then in our leadership team meetings, I will say something that is really, really crazy, and I do it on purpose. When I arrived in our district, you might not quite understand this, there was not necessarily a high level of trust in our district, period. The reason why we've had a number of leaders in a number of different places, a number of different positions, we've been taken over by the state a couple of times, and it's just hard to get people to open up and say what they really think, what they really feel. But and the reason why I said that is not because I just want to let a textbook drive the curriculum, but in our last 2 advanced ed meetings, when they've come to evaluate us, they've identified curriculum as a problem. I also know that we've been working on curriculum for a number of years. I also know that while a lot of people shy away from it, there are many forms of curriculum, and a textbook is one of them. I also understand we spend close to $200,000 a year in textbooks. So if you're spending that money on that tool, why not use it as a tool? So here's specifically where we went to on that. Went like this. Instead of us trying to create a whole brand new curriculum, grab the textbook and let's use it as a base to start, to say we've got one. Teach what we need to teach out of those. Get the assessments, aspire when it comes in, find out where our areas of weaknesses were. Take the results of the expire, go back to that source that you used, the textbook. Some cases I'm getting some resistance on that, and I understand that because textbooks has been an ugly word. But go back to the book, say, okay, is it in there? If it's not in there, then you adjust your curriculum. And what you do is ultimately make the curriculum your own. Now, if it's not in there, you adjust the curriculum. If it is, did we teach it well? If some did and some didn't, find out those that taught it well. If nobody taught it well, rethink what's there. Adjust the curriculum. See, if you do that, ultimately the curriculum doesn't be a textbook. And I say textbook loosely because of what our intentions are to do is, since we've transitioned into a one-to-one district with technology, the idea is to have them on electronically anyway, but it will not be the only source. Many teachers have found other sources that they find useful. In other words, build your curriculum. Don't let anybody else come to our district and say you don't have a curriculum. Have something to say, here's what we teach, here's the adjustments we made, here's how it aligns up to the ACE Aspire, or whatever assessment Common Core, and adjust until it is absolutely your own. And that was the idea. After I said, we're going to use textbook for curriculum, and everybody said, yeah, here we go again. He crazy again today. And sometimes I guess I am.
Well, I would just encourage you on the front end, rather than waiting until a test result came in, to take the standards and look at the standards and compare what you're using, and because you'll probably find holes. There will be things that are in the standards that you won't find in those textbooks. And also look at student engagement, because it's hard to get a student engaged when you're teaching directly from a textbook.
Okay, so let me make certain that I'm clear.
Okay.
We're already doing that. We
Okay.
do curriculum Saturdays. We have teachers K-12 meet in one spot, and they all get together and collaborate on different aspects of the curriculum. I've been to those meetings as well, and I kind of went with the math science people when I went, just to kind of make certain that we're kind of doing that, because that's important.
Yes.
And we've been doing that for a couple of years now, and maybe despite the fact that people say we don't have a strong curriculum, maybe that's why the scores are going up too.
Okay. All right. And I just had one other question, and it was in closing the achievement gap. I can't remember her name. Ms. Chadwick said that every time she'd gone out in the community and asked for assistance, she'd met resistance from the employees. There are community members who are willing to be involved but are discouraged when met with resistance from the schools. Or is it parental involvement that the staff is not wanting? Or
I can't speak for Ms. Chadwick. Here's what I can tell you. What we try to do on our ACSIP Closing the Achievement Gap Committee is we try to have at least one of our advisory board members on there. Ms. Chadwick is on there now. She replaced Mr. Bagley, who stepped down because he took on some other roles. Now he's here. He might can answer to some degree that question as to whether he thinks that the community finds us frustrating to deal with. I will tell you this though. If a community member comes and say that they don't like a particular thing, my question is have you spoken with the person in charge of that thing, and did they follow policy? And if they did, then it's going to be hard for me to flip over to your side if we are doing what we're supposed to do. My thing with policy is this. I love it. We write down what we say we're going to do, and we do it. Now, if we don't do it, then that's on us. if we do it and you don't like it, my thing is, let's change the policy. Most of those policies are there to protect us, and so that's why I like the policy. So if it's an issue of but if it's an issue of I wanted to volunteer, we have parents volunteering all the time.
Yeah, I didn't know what that was about. That's the reason I asked.
So, but now, Ms. Bagley, you want to?
I think Ms. Chadwick, the frustration she has is that there are some weaknesses in terms of communication that Mr. Hoy and I have discussed in terms of being welcoming and people knowing what's going on. And we've worked on some things to do that. We've redone the website. We've got software in place where we can announce a band concert or a snow day closing, and it hits the text messages and the emails and all things. So we're doing it better. But I think that's the frustration. People will want to help. We may not do as good a job of telling them where to go as we should. When they get there, sometimes we can be a bit too bureaucratic and there's too many hurdles to jump through. But those are things that we're aware of, we're working on, and they're much better now than they were 5 years ago, for sure. Probably better now than they were a year ago, since we've really made a concerted effort. Now, we're going to hit a bump in the road. Our PR director has resigned and moved on to other things, so we've got to find somebody, get them in place and all to pick up those duties and run with it. But I think that's the sort of thing Ms. Chadwick's referring to.
Okay.
Ms. Newton, do you have any questions? Ms. Dean? Okay. The only other thing I wanted to know, are you going to have any summer school opportunities or after school for the kids that are behind?
Every school, every grade.
Thank you. Praise the Lord.
You're welcome.
And I understand that your senator, Ingram, is working on getting, if he can get the governor to okay it, to work out this school election thing so it's not so cumbersome for the voters.
We
And,
certainly hope it gets worked out.
yeah, I've heard lots of positive feedback about that decision, and so you're to be commended as the leader in the state in that area.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Ms. Streeter, maybe, wait, Mr. Hoy, wait just a second. Ms. Streeter, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Actually, I think that Mr. Hoy did an excellent job of explaining where we are, but I do want to share that Advanced Ed did conduct another audit this year, and the findings that the district disclosed during their 47 walkthroughs that Mr. Hoy spoke of were actually very much the same as what Advanced Ed found. And so the district is now discovering themselves through those systemic walks and their communication with the principals and developing next steps for them and leading to a discussion with those teachers that were observed. And so I'm real pleased to see that they're continuing with that, because we spent all last year modeling that for them, that approach. And also, doing those walkthroughs, we still noted that even though we had improved in curriculum alignment, that curriculum implementation and alignment with day-to-day delivery in the classroom still remains at about 55%, which is up from the previous years that we walked through together. But that almost mirrors what we're seeing on the student assessment. And so we know that that's a targeted area along with student engagement. And moving from student engagement, which was identified through those walks as primarily listening and lecturing from teachers, we're going to have to move to more student-based activities and projects. And so they're having a 5-day, is it 5 days or 3 days in June? They're having a PD on student engagement, which would be inclusive of all the schools in 5 days in June, immediately after school is out, to address student engagement. And one of the things that I did share with Mrs. English and Mrs. Anderson is that we need to look at project-based instruction responses, performance-based collection of data, instead of just looking at the process. Fetterman and Associates have also identified that that's a problem on the secondary level, is that they have the processes in place but not the application part of it. And so they are also doing extended PD in that area for Mr. Simpson at the high school. In addition to what Mr. Hoare shared, one of the things that I had recommended to them is that they start doing PLC, what we call institutes, where they actually study the content, because in looking at their data, we're finding that some teachers deliver content better than others. And based upon their scores, we wanted to identify specific teachers and differentiate based upon their delivery of that particular content. And so they have designed some PD to send teachers away that would lead the PLCs more systemically than in the past, and also to include more content studying and developing of rubrics and unit assessments that would encourage differentiation and meeting the individual needs of the students, as well as increasing the rigor in what teachers need to have in order to keep that upward trend as we move from grade level to grade level. Do you have any other questions for me?
Not for you, but I do see the principal is here, and I wanted to ask him about your teacher absenteeism and your student absenteeism, and if you have that off the top of your head. If not, we can look back at the reports we had earlier. Do you?
As far as the numbers,
Yeah, or do you have trouble
oh yes. Yeah,
with
it's
kids
amazing.
or adults or both?
A little of both.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a big issue, a big barrier that we do face. There are days where we're not able to gather enough substitutes for our classroom, but we sometimes we have to have the gym coach or TA to step in and take on those responsibilities on those days when we're
And
understaffed.
let me ask this, are teachers, like, I don't know, some different districts do it differently, but you get so many, quote, sick and personal days a year, and then you can roll over to so much, and then I guess at some point it caps out. But are the people that are absent the ones who have a lot of days built up and they're using them, or are they using days for which they're not getting paid?
In some cases that's the case, but in others, no. Some teachers are being absent and they're losing pay because they've extinguished all of their personal and sick days.
Yeah. Maybe we can get all the districts to work together that are having these issues and brainstorm and find out what works.
If you don't mind, I'd like to add
Sure.
something to that, although not from a building level, from a district level, because I realized that was an issue in talking with my principals in some of the meetings we've been in. We've done two things this year in terms of policy from the district level, trying to assist with that. We've done an incentive policy for certified staff. I know some people say you shouldn't incentivize attendance. That should be one of those things you do anyway. Also, we did not have an excessive absenteeism policy. We have one in front of the commissioner now, I think, to be approved. No, I think that went last month, so I think it's approved for the upcoming school year. So we've got some things in place now that we didn't have previously because we felt like as a district level, we need to try to address those issues.
Yeah, because I do think it seems to be more of an issue in the schools that are in the academic distress and priority than it is in others, and it impacts student learning, as we all know. And in small towns, like I live in a small town too, even smaller, finding people who are qualified to be subs, it's an issue for sure. But I do appreciate the fact that you have identified your own problems and you're working on your own problems rather than having somebody from the outside come in and point out those things. I do appreciate that. Anything else? Yes, Ms.
I
Dean?
just had a question, because I had a couple of teachers talk to me about this. The professional development days, do those count as absences?
No, they do not.
No. We were led to believe that from a report we got not long ago, but that is not in fact the case.
I've got just.
Yes,
point-blank,
Mr. Williamson?
open-ended questions. What's your biggest challenge right now? Anybody? I know Mr. Bagley's probably itching to say something about that too.
Biggest.
He's just itching to talk.
Wow, that's a good question. I've had a number of senators, representatives from across the state to come out and sit down and talk with me about that. and I don't know if this is the proper form, but I will tell you one that I think is a big one for me, and it has been over in the Delta for a while. It's a matter of funding, and I will tell you why I say that. Some would say teacher and teacher replacement and all that, but hiring teachers is a metric of competition in the Delta. In the district where I am, we pay less than the other districts that are around us. Okay. We are the biggest district, but we pay less. And that's an issue because some teachers, even if they live in our town, will drive somewhere else to make more money. So what I know in our district is this. We get a lot of federal dollars to be able to do improvement and programs like that, but we also get a lot of state dollars in terms of NSLA, but we're restricted in how we can use those dollars. Those restrictions have gone in place legislatively, and because of that, historically, this district has turned back money because we couldn't spend it all. There's only so much stuff you can buy, only so many programs you can have until you've got enough programs and stuff. And there's sometimes enough people. It's just a matter of, can you be competitive in terms of paying what Springdale pays? Can you be competitive in terms of paying what even Little Rock pays? I would love to see someone take a look at restructuring that, because I think if they do that, then we can compete in terms of being and hiring teachers, at least in our own district. For me, that's an issue, because if you fix the problem and if you get some of the best teachers in the planet, and we have some of those, but if you can continue to recruit those and funnel those in, then it solves a lot of the other things that people might say is the major problem.
Well, I would just like to say that teacher retention would be my answer to your question. Again, we're sometimes faced with, not at the beginning of the school year, not having enough teachers for our coursework, and so and then once those teachers that we have in place, I think the other challenge would be their training, professional development, improving their teaching strategies. And so that's been a part of our big focus this year, as far as getting them the professional development and have them participate in professional learning communities that focus on improving teaching strategies, so that we can raise the rigor that we see in our classrooms, so that we can get those academic gains that we need.
Okay, thank you.
And certainly, Mr. Hoy and Mr. Simpson have identified the number one problem. We do have some issues with teacher recruitment and retention. Those are largely driven by our inability to match pay somewhere else, and if we could get some restrictions off of the NSLA money where we could dump that into the salary schedule and get those salaries up and get good teachers in those classrooms, that would be a huge help, but we know that takes a solution from across the street. The other challenge that I think we ought to point out is facilities. Our facilities are very old. And of course, we're working on some of that, but of course, that takes money too. Now, we are building an addition to our elementary school, which will add 14 classrooms and another dining space and a PE space, which they didn't have over there. And we're able to pay for that out of our current funds, but we're going to be asking the voters for a millage increase in November, because our high school facilities, after we had our plan evaluated, they're going to qualify for about $7.3 million in partnership money, assuming the legislature funds the formula. But it's a $28.657 million plan that we've identified that we need. And so we're going to be having to ask local voters for a tax increase on that. So facilities are also a major issue, because not only do people want to be paid well, but they want to work in an environment that is conducive to learning as well. So that holds us back in terms of recruitment. And it also is holding us back on keeping students and luring students and the students we have having a good place to learn. It's kind of hard for a kid to learn when every time it rains it's coming in both ends. And that's kind of what we have now. We've got the PowerPoint presentation for the road show for the campaign. We've got one building where it's been moved and there's this huge crack in the corner where they covered it up from the outside so the sunshine wouldn't shine in. So facilities are the second biggest challenge to teacher recruitment and retention that we face.
You know, I keep hearing so many districts and people talk about the need for professional development and having to do professional development. I'm wondering if you know, we're going to have to talk to higher ed at some point, because many professions don't have to continue to teach people how to do their profession once they are out. Yes, they have to have, they have to get hours and do. But, I mean, if we're going to spend all this time and money on professional development, maybe we keep them in the college for 3 years and then, work with it from there. But, I am a teacher, and I am frustrated by the fact that, now, a new program, I understand. Dyslexia is new. I understand. RTI is new. But if you're coming out of school and it's not a newly instituted program and you're just having to be taught classroom management and basic how to introduce a lesson and not lecture, that's my soapbox for today. Mr. Hoy, you're grinning, so I think maybe you agree.
I do. And at this point, I should probably shut up. But since I'm up here, I will tell you another one of my pet peeves. And it goes back to what I said at first in terms of being able to recruit great teachers. What I have discovered in my years in this business, not just in education, but in all professions, that some companies go out and they're able to draw in absolute best talent by paying people more, and they don't have to do so much professional development. And with the legislators that have sat in my office, I won't use the name of the basketball player, but I will simply say this. In competitive athletics at the college level, how they win is go out and get the best players. The coaching or the professional development is secondary to getting quality players. Now, we have some quality players in Helena. Don't misunderstand me. We absolutely do. But getting them in great quantity requires that we have the pool to get them in great quantity. I was listening to my colleague down the road in Barton talking about their teachers and how they recruit. Because they're less than 1,000 in enrollment, they can also give that bonus that the state allows them to give to teachers down there. We can't do that because we're not less than 1,000. So there's just some things legislatively, I think, again, dealing with the money that tie our hands right now where we are. Now, maybe if we lose enough students, we can pay that bonus. But I don't think that's the best route for us to go. I'm getting we don't want to do that from back over in the corner. And I understand that. We don't. And so we've got some things in place to, I think we've got some things in place that we're going to push that's actually going to draw students to us.
Okay, thank you very much.
However,
okay, or however.
I heard a comment, I think, by Dr. Weil about maybe we should name some priority schools, some pre-priority. I don't think so, because one of the things that helps to kill us is when we get these negative labels like academic distress and priority school and a grade level. The parents see that and they think, horrible school. But when you look at our numbers on the park this year and you look at all the other high schools around us, we're not so much different from any of them. Mm-hmm. So the labels really hurt us. Mm-hmm. So I wish that somebody would reconsider some of that as well.
Maybe we need to talk to the congressman. That's a lot of that happens in Washington.
Oh, okay, now, this is a promise I'm going to try to make. I'm now going to go try to shut up and go to my seat and not say anything.
Okay, I think Ms. Newton had one more question.
This was curious on my part, okay? A few weeks back, you got several waivers. And just which ones do you think have been most beneficial to helping you improve?
Okay, so let me say this to you. The feeling I got from this board was that we'll give you these waivers, but we'd like you to use them with caution. And so it is our tendency to not have to use them unless we need to. And I'll give you a for instance. One of the things that I've struggled with since I've been in Helena, West Helena, is the need to have a really good alternative school off-site. One of the things that I'd like to do is I would like to take it off-site. I think I now have a plan that if it's accepted by enough people, will do it. But when we take it off-site, one of the questions that arises, are those students exposed to the exact same curriculum as they would be if they were actually in school? Well, there's a methodology for exposing them to the same curriculum now. It's called Skype, Zoom, and all those other things. And what I would like to do is there's a piece of technology that I've been looking at, and I've asked our technology coordinator to order it for us, that allows a deal to follow a teacher around in the classroom while they're teaching a lesson. It's called a swivel. I probably shouldn't have endorsed that, but it has a name. And it will allow us to be able to let a student sit in this room on a different site and see the exact same lesson being taught at the exact same time is being taught in the other sites, the student can ask questions, or the teacher can mute the student, but at the end of the lesson, the teacher can turn the video off. Now, we haven't put that in place yet, but I've asked the technology person to order us a couple so we can kind of try it out, maybe even put it in the teacher's hands and let them try it out, so that when we get back next year, we can do that. Now, the reason why that's an issue is there's an issue in alternative school that says so much of learning has to be live on site right there. So if we do it this way, it doesn't meet the letter of the rule in terms of alternative schools. But it certainly meets the intent. And that's a waiver that if I can get everything to work the way it needs to work, we'll try to put that one in place. You all.
Anybody else?
I just want to hear from Dr. Wild.
Okay, Dr. Wild, did you intend to speak on each of the schools, or have your person speak on each of the schools?
Actually, we're primarily here just to answer any specific questions.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Class dismissed. Good luck with your millage. Okay, Pine Bluff.
Good afternoon,
Dr. Wallace, good to see you again.
and thank you for allowing us to come before you and give you an update since February in terms of our progress. But before I do that, I want to have an opportunity to introduce to you the new superintendent
Oh,
of
terrific.
Pine Bluff.
Great.
And I'd like to ask him to come forward, Dr. Michael Robinson. And we are just delighted that the board has completed its search and identified a person that can come in and move the district forward. So we'd like for him just to say a couple of words. That will be followed by our monthly report. You've received the information. Our Chief School Reform Officer is Mrs. Smith. As you know, you've met her, is going to deliver that message. So I'd like to have him just address the subcommittee.
Welcome to Arkansas.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. I just want to say a few little words about myself. This is like my 20th year in education. I have, for the vast majority of my career, I have spent in turnaround schools and been a classroom teacher, elementary, middle, junior high school teacher, intermediate school teacher. I've been an elementary principal, middle school principal for a turnaround, and also high school administrator. Prior to the position I have now, I'm currently in Prince George's County Public Schools in Maryland. I was the director of priority turnaround schools, and then became the instructional director, which is a position that is equivalent to an assistant superintendent position in most school districts. So the work that I have done throughout my career, I believe, has truly prepared me for this opportunity. And I say opportunity because it is an opportunity. And we're coming in with a vision for the work. I've had the opportunity to engage in some of the work. This is my second trip here. So I will be permanently living here in about 2.5, 3 weeks. But I've had the opportunity to actually begin doing some of the work in terms of setting structures and systems that will be put in place for next school year. And because turnaround is something that is very passionate to me, we are already in the process of putting in some measures that are going to encompass some of the things that I have read in the reports. And so we're just simply looking forward to the opportunity and the experience of moving Pine Bluff to another level. Thank you for the experience and opportunity today.
And thank you. Ms. Smith?
Good afternoon. So we are just plugging away and continuing to do the things that we've been talking with you guys about all year. Some of the work we're going a little deeper with. I would like to say that Jack Roby moved from an F to a C. The high school moved from a D to a C. And Bel Air moved from an F to a D. So for us, we were excited to see that we moved and we had growth, and that was a celebration for us. So we have been reflecting on the things that we've been doing and looking at what really works and what doesn't, looking at where we need to go next. Where are our next steps, and what have we done that we've done really well, and what have we just been, as Dr. Wild would say, dabbling in? So what we've done really well is we have our professional learning communities, our data meetings. They are data driven. We are talking about students, we're talking about their data, we're talking about their needs, we're talking about where their next step should be. We're looking at hiring interventionists instead of having after school tutoring, because it's a struggle to get the kids after school, looking at having someone there during the day that can work on closing those gaps with the kids, because that's the time we own. Sometimes parents will sign them up for after school tutoring and then change their mind. So, and sometimes you're outside hurling the buses trying to get kids off to stay for after school tutoring, because we don't own that time. We looked at the instructional day. We're looking at block scheduling. We did some double blocking at the high school with math, because that was an area that we really struggled with, but we realized that we needed to look at how the teachers were teaching that second block to make sure that it was effective and not just a block for homework. So we realized that we had to go back and really look at what the teachers were doing, were they using the data. We've been doing a lot of work with pre and post assessments, and those have been driven by the teachers and the instructional facilitators. So we've been looking at that, and sometimes the data doesn't look so good after the kids have done the pre and post test. So we're asking questions on how can we go back and reteach that differently, because you taught it for 3 weeks this way and only 50% of your kids got it. What would that look like if you retaught it? You can't reteach it the same way you taught it before. We're looking at differentiated instruction as a big push for next year. So everyone is going to be trained. We're looking at small group instruction. So we have some really great things on the fire, but we just keep plugging away at those best practices, making sure people understand what the expectations are, holding people accountable, and trying to make sure that we keep the morale up and that we're celebrating along the way.
Okay, is the principal from Bel Air here?
No.
Okay, are any of your principals here?
No, we didn't bring any of the principals today.
Okay, I recognize this is not a great time of year for bringing in, but I need someone who can speak to the teacher absenteeism and then the student scores and how those things may relate and what might be done.
With her, she's had a few teachers that have had major crisis, couple of eye surgeries, couple of knee replacements, and that really has hurt her attendance this last third quarter. So that would be part of why that was going on. The other part is what I just said to you about those assessments. When we've been doing those pre and post assessments, when we do those unit assessments, we've been looking at after they teach it, the kids are still not grasping it, and what do we need to do to go back and reteach it? And as part of that data, it was impacted by those teachers being out and those kids having subs in their rooms for 3 to 4 weeks at a time. And so we kind of looked at that data and was very concerned about it, and had some conversations and made sure we went back and retaught that to the kids and added some additional time in the academic support class for those kids, because we looked at that data and was very concerned too. And we really had some conversations about what happened here. What happened with this group of kids? Why is that data looking so bad right there? I don't know exactly what you're talking about. You're talking about that 90%.
For the
Yes.
children, yes,
Uh-huh.
but 58%
Yep.
absence in 1 quarter
Yep.
that are more than 5 days. That's
Mhm.
I recognize it
It
might be
is.
6 days and it might be 26 days.
Yeah.
but, you know, that does concern me. Let's turn around. Mr. Black, do you have any questions of Ms. Smith or any of the Pine Bluff?
Not at this time.
Mr. Williamson?
Not right now.
Ms. Dean?
Mr. Hoy said that they have, they've developed a excessive absence plan and brought it to Commissioner Key, and it's been approved for the next school year. Have y'all thought about that?
No, that would be great to see that. What we've done is we've been trying to follow policy, and so we've had teachers have been written up, not received pay. We followed the procedures, but the core of it is that it seems like every time we turn around, somebody has something major going on with their physical or with their family, and then counter that on somebody who just, I'm tired, you know? So you have all that going on. And what we try to get the teachers to understand, we've been celebrating teachers every month at the board meeting. We've been doing, she's been celebrating teachers for a good attendance each month to try to let them know that when all these absences happen, kids are not getting instruction, and it's killing all the hard work and planning that we do to get the data ready, to get the instruction prepared. It kills the work because the substitute can't execute it like the teacher.
Well, I would encourage you to do something similar to that, so that there's something in place so that the teachers know, okay, if I miss this many absences, or I have this many absences, there's this consequence.
Yes.
So there's something in place, so.
Yeah.
Ms. Wheaton Newton?
The only thing I had was, I just had a question. You were talking about your hour-and-a-half block for your, double blocked for your math classes at the high school. What kind of teaching strategies are the teachers using during that hour-and-a-half block?
If initially they were teaching the same way they were teaching the first period, which didn't help us at all. So we got some Lexile, textiles, tiles. We went to manipulatives. We went to using computers. We went to math in a flash. We had an assessment by class to see where those kids' gaps were, because the whole purpose was that those kids are missing those foundational skills. And we were hoping that if we get them those, they'll be successful in geometry and algebra too. So we changed the way that second bell looked and made it more hands-on, and where the teacher would have a small group. But it took some planning to get there, because the teachers wanted to continue to just teach the way they taught that first bell, which was not benefiting us. When we looked at the data, we said something's wrong. These kids should be growing much faster with this additional 55 minutes of math, and they weren't. So we went back and revamped it.
So have you seen that it's making a difference
It
yet?
is.
Okay. Okay, good.
It is.
Ms. Dean has another question.
I was thinking about what does your parental involvement look like? Because I know with the children's absences, that is directly tied to the parents. So what does your PTSA look like? What does your...
It's minimal.
Okay.
It is minimal.
Do y'all have a plan?
And we've been working our parent engagement plan. We've even invited parents to come in on Saturdays. We've given away gift cards. We've gotten donations. We've done everything that we know how to do to try to pull them in. So my thoughts were next year, we're now getting ready to survey the parents to see what do they need from us. Now, we've tried to do everything that we think they need, but now we're going to send out a survey to them and say, what do they need from us? And then begin to do something more frequently, where we can have them in once a month doing something that they need from us, and then we get something from them. We've done the Remind Me 101. We sent it home the newsletters. We're doing all those basic things, but I think the thing that we left out was just sending out a basic survey that says, we need you. And what can we do to help? What can you do to help us? Even if it's just you reading at night. I had to tell people sometimes you got to redefine what parent involvement is. Because if a parent helps with homework and helps them read, that's parent involvement for me. They may not be able to come every day, but if they're helping with that homework, that's going to make instruction easier for you as a teacher. So one of the things that the new superintendent, Dr. Robinson, told them, we want a parent engagement plan from each campus. And so that's to be done now. So they're starting to work on that. We're working on a technology plan. We have a lot of great things that are coming down the pike, but the parent involvement at some schools much better than others, but it's minimal.
And that you just hit on my next question, because I was going to ask you, have you surveyed them to
Yes.
see? Because a lot of times, I talked with one PTA president, and she said I talked with her and I said, you need to find out what works for the parents so that they can be involved. Because I know for myself, being a mom before, when I get off work, if the meeting is earlier than what I can get to, I miss
Right.
the meeting. So if you would
Exactly.
move the meeting later, I can make it.
Exactly.
Because I do want to be involved. So if you find out what works for parents so they can be involved as much as possible, that would be great. And then you hit on the second point, which is technology. Because for me, it helps me when I get a text
Yes, yes,
in the middle of my day
Yes.
about what I need to do with my child.
right,
Because I'm not necessarily like a text or email, but text works best for me.
yes.
So I was just going to ask what your technology is
Yeah,
for.
we have the Remind Me 101 app, and that's sent out to the parents, and so they get texts about, okay, we have literacy night, don't forget report cards come home, so that's been working really well for us, and parents, the feedback from that is the parents, they love it. Like you said, I can see my phone like, oh, okay, that progress report should be, oh, okay. But the other calling, they love text. Parents love for us to text them. So that Remind Me 101 app, not only do the principals have an account at the schools, the teachers have an account, and so they actually text parents, don't forget that project is due, and it's a free app that's out there for people to use. So we are doing some things with technology. The district also has a robocall where we'll call if some major things are happening with the district, but we're really trying to jump ahead of things. We just had a community meeting last night with the parents to talk about dress code, discipline, getting their input, and we probably had about 3 or 4 parents there. We're going to do it 3 more times so that we can try to see if we're missing a group of parents at a certain time, so that we can have their input on what they need from the district.
Ms. Zook, I have
Yeah,
a
I was
comment,
coming to you
a
next.
comment. While we don't want failure at any school or any district, I think what comes to mind with me is Pine Bluff is too large to fail.
Yes.
Because in failing at that scale, it's tremendous, and impact is so negative.
Mm-hmm.
And I think potentially what I keep saying is Pine Bluff probably has the potential to set the standard.
Mm-hmm.
With UAPB being there, with the professional community there, with educators being there, with retired educators, and it just seems a shame that the progress is not any better than what it is. So I like I say, you're too large to fail, and it's too much at stake. One of the things, the new superintendent has a gargantuan job ahead of him, but I know he's coming with a lot of expertise. And I started asking him a minute ago, but I wouldn't put him on the spot in terms of what from 0 to 10, where he feels his challenge is. But we've met with Pine Bluff District over a year, and we left our meeting, I think, last year, and talking about teacher absenteeism, only to have it announced in the paper that the schools being canceled because of teachers wanted to attend homecoming activities. See, that's a mixed message, and that doesn't jive. While people have places they want to go, it just doesn't jive for the public and for the Department of Ed to see that response. And I think it was on a Friday. Well, it had to be on a Thursday.
It wasn't a homecoming for Pine Bluff School either. It was homecoming for the college.
But regardless. So I think that it's going to be the charge of the district to say we're too big to fail, because it's not a ripple, it's a tsunami.
Mm-hmm.
Failure is a tsunami. So that's my charge. I hear you when you come quarterly laboring with the information that your job is not easy. I see, those challenges you face with the teacher absenteeism. Even I've had some friends, and I'll ask, why do you have an elective surgery during school time?
Right.
And I never get a satisfactory
Right.
answer. But the question, and that's not to discount people having medical
I
emergencies.
understand.
And so I don't take it to mean that. But to me, again, Pine Bluff is too large. It sends a message, and recovering from that is, again, we talk about school turnaround like turning a cruise ship. Well, this is like turning a battleship if we keep going in a negative direction. So for what it's worth, those are my comments.
And I appreciate it, and I live in it. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and to a certain degree, the urgency just has to be there, and people have to understand that kids' lives are at stake. And I think so many times we get in a place of complacency, and we've been in this job, and we think we deserve to have this job, but yet we are not doing what we're supposed to do for kids. So I believe that with the new superintendent, there will be a level of accountability that says that if this school is not good enough for my own child to be here, what must we do to make it that type of school? It isn't going to take a lot of work. It is. You're absolutely right. But we have the potential for greatness in Pine Bluff. There are some great kids down there, and there are some great teachers. But there are some people that need to go to the house because they are not doing what's best for children. And either you're going to do what's best for kids or make a decision that this is not the career for you, because it's damaging to kids when they stand in front of a teacher and they have not 1 but 2 years of a bad teacher. You know how hard it is to recover from that? And so the work is huge, but we can do it. I really believe that with the new leadership that we are going to make some changes that the state board, the school board, Pine Bluff, and the parents are going to be proud to say that they are zebras.
Thank you.
I know one thing that some districts are doing when they build their master schedule is when they know they have teachers who need help, that need to grow, that they have built into their master plan where there's a collaboration time. So for the second tier and the third tier, and then maybe a teacher, like I have a strength and I can help you, and you have a strength and you can help me. So as you build your master schedule, I'm sure you've thought of this. There's nothing new under the sun, but just, want to mention it in case.
Yes, and we do some of that. We do a lot of that. Because it's the new generation of children, and you have to approach learning differently. These kids are tech ready. You can't stand up and talk to them for 30 minutes and think that they're going to be engaged in what you're saying. Most adults are not. If you start talking to adults for a long period of time, we all start, let me see when I need to go to the grocery store. Oh, let me see if I can call them again. You lose us. So what do you think is happening to children who want to be engaged in their own learning, and you have them sitting in chairs? So there's a lot that we have to do to make sure that all these ducks are in a row so that we move the student achievement in the right direction.
Are you doing any summer school or after school?
Yes,
Okay.
Summer school, yes.
Okay, and I know if you talk with the superintendent up in Flippin, I think he's retiring, so you may have to talk to him quickly. But they started a program and did a summer program a few years ago. It's the Barton's program, actually. It was for kids who are dyslexic, but they found that it worked to keep, and they don't have to go every day. They go just some days, and so it could be taking a different approach in the summer with your summer school.
And tell me the name of it again,
It's a Barton's program. I'm
Okay.
sure there's others, but it's not it's what I used to call an inhale exhale program. You buy the program, it's not that expensive. It tells the teacher what to say, what the kid was expected to do, and go from that. But Stacy Smith and her staff could probably maybe advise some things that are more up to date than what I possibly am. Another thing that I need to talk about, and I guess I need to talk with the two superintendents, or if you have any school board members here.
Yeah, Mr. Dabner's here.
Good afternoon to you all.
We've had several emails complaining about the board, and in particular you, Mr. Dabney.
Yes,
and I like to give people an opportunity to tell me the whole story. So the kinds of things like showing up at school and going into sessions and anyway, I'm sure you may be familiar with the complaints that are coming to us against you, and if you'd like to address those, I'd like to give you the floor to do so.
okay. Well, but first of all, going into the schools, I do visit schools from time to time because I have a grandson.
You're going to have to pull the
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I
Okay.
can. Thank
I
you.
do go to schools from time to time because I have a grandson. and nephews that go to the school. And I am a mentor, so I've been doing this for 21 years. It just didn't start since I got on the board.
Okay.
I've worked with young males, I guess, since my oldest son was old enough to start playing t-ball, because that's what I've always done. I've been involved in PTA or PTO, even after my youngest graduated, and he just finished college Saturday. So, and I'm still involved with young people's education. That's just what I do. I love doing it. Never interfered at all. For his executive session, Dr. Wild has been to 95% of our board meetings. So whatever I do, I always sit down and talk with him on whatever decisions I make. I make sure that I get a recommendation from him before I do anything, or make sure that we talk. So some things are, I guess, comical to me, but I've always been involved in the community in Pine Bluff.
Well,
Always. Yes, ma'am.
I guess the caution I would give you is to examine, and if there is anything that might, you know, hold you up to criticism, just, you know, be careful not to do those things in case they are misunderstood, or if you're talk with your new superintendent and about the calling of meetings, the meeting with anybody if it's not publicly announced, all of those same kind of rules that we have to go by. You know, we can't discuss anything that's not in a public forum, particularly because it might leave the impression it was, you know, school business, and maybe you were just checking on somebody's new car. I mean, you know, whatever it is. But there are a few people in your community who are not happy with you, and that's unfortunate, or it may be something that we need to be aware of. But I just wanted you to be aware that those people are talking to us. But I, for one, and I think I can speak for this board, we never presume we have the whole story until we talk to people on both sides of an issue. We heard a lot of people yesterday who said a lot of things that it would have sounded like, you know, 100,000 people in Little Rock think the same way, when in fact that's not accurate. So I just wanted you as the new superintendent to be aware of this, and if you feel like additional training is needed for your school board, you know, the School Boards Association is happy to do that as well. And Mr. Weil, maybe we can get you to speak to this.
All right. I think that you did hear allegations earlier, and to some degree, that needs to be left in personnel and back at the district. In terms of Mr. Dabner, I have interviewed principals in light of the allegations about, is any of the board members, not just him, but are any of the board members disrupting the school by coming in and trying to get teachers or other staff to talk business? And the three principals I interviewed indicated no, that's not true. He does come, he does a walkthrough. Typically he'll do it with the principal. He has been a volunteer for a number of years, and so that has been validated. And to some degree, we have also followed suit with what you were saying, cautioned him about that. We have talked with Dr. Robinson coming in, saying that there has to be clear lines of duty for both of them, and they shouldn't overlap. So,
because I will say, if a good superintendent, a superintendent worth having, is not going to stay long if the board tries to run the school instead of just set policy. You know, the quality superintendent is like finding a quality teacher. They are in great demand, and when you come in and you've got a lot of issues and you're trying to work with kids, you don't need to have to babysit the adults in the room too.
and Dr. Wallace is also here, and he could, if you wanted him to speak to the question about are there people going into executive session that are not authorized, he could speak to that directly.
Okay, I don't, he must be standing behind somebody because I don't see him at the. Oh, he's sitting, okay. Dr. Wallace? He's pretty microphone shy, I've noticed
Oh,
this.
absolutely. At certain times in certain meetings.
Yes.
Now, the question was executive session?
We were led to believe, not just by one person, but by one person, and I've actually received emails, I guess, from 3 different people, that there are meetings that they say they're executive session, but in fact they discuss things that are not personnel related, or they are saying they're going into executive session when maybe they're just talking about whatever. In other words, not the typical policies and the structure with which a school board is supposed to take care of their business.
My response to that would be what I call the 90-10 rule. 90% of the time, we are consistent with the laws in the state of Arkansas. There are times that we do deviate, and that's unfortunate because we all know the rules, but it does happen. But it's minimal, it's not disruptive. At the end of the day, there's no hidden agenda that takes place. But purely from a legal standpoint, that 10% is there.
Well, you've got a challenge for you again coming in, Dr. Robinson. Do you care to respond to any of this?
So, good morning again. So I've had the opportunity to engage with the board, and it has been made emphatically clear to them what their role is and what my role is. We are going to have a board retreat that is in the planning right now. I will be reaching out for that support to the state through the state board to support us in that effort so that it is clear and clearly delineated what their role is. We're going to be reviewing policy. We're going to be looking at the overall structure and system of the district. There will be several changes that are going to happen over a period of time, and then some of them are going to be very swift and quick. I am very well aware of the academic distress, and my goal is to get from under that as expeditiously as possible. Having been in turnaround for quite a number of years, working in that environment, that is, I should say, I'm clearly aware of some of the struggles. They're the same everywhere you go. Some of them are not new to Arkansas or to Pine Bluff, but we are going to work there. We do have several plans in place. We have already had a transition team to meet with various stakeholders within the district. Then we're going to be devising a systemic transition team, which will become the superintendent's advisory committee. That committee is going to support the work that is going to be done around creating a strategic plan. I'm very transparent. The website that we currently have will be coming down. I have been made aware of all of these state-specific requirements that need to be on the website. Ironically, I had already designed the website prior to reading that, and so I think we're clearly in line with what the state is going to be expecting, and I think that you will be very pleased with what you're going to see as soon as it is taken down and we put up the new website. Because I'm very transparent, and we want to ensure that what we're doing, that parents, it's easy access to them. They will be able to use the website as a tool, as a teaching tool and a learning tool for them, as well as for their scholars as well. We do have some challenges. Some I don't know about yet. Some I'm fully aware of, and some I'm on the horizon of knowing. I don't think that anything that we're doing here is any different from challenges that I have had to experience in Prince George's County and other places that I've worked. I am very thorough about the work that I do, and very systematic about the work that I do. Very instructional and data-driven. And I met with principals on yesterday and made it emphatically clear to them that I don't do failure, and it's not an option for our scholars. And so they are well aware of what is coming on the horizons. We're going to have a summer leadership institute for all administrators and principals this summer. So we will be doing some different things that Pine Bluff has probably never done before. It's not anything new. It may just be new to them, but it's not new. Not too many things are new under the sun in education. We just kind of recycle, beg, borrow, and steal. So, but there will be some great things that I think that the state is going to be extremely pleased with. We are going to be implementing some different systems and structures in Pine Bluff that I think that the state will probably be looking at very closely, and I don't know if we'll share it. I'm just joking, but yes.
Well, Pine Bluff is a very old and proud community. They have got a lot of good traditions. Just recently, there have been 2 major summits there with the business community, the economic developers, the businesses, and people trying to do their share. And if we can get the parents and the teachers to do their share, then it'll be that as they were talking about, that 3-legged stool that will then stand.
Yes.
So I think that you'll find that you'll get the support from the area as well as the community itself. And
Yes.
With the good thing about all the new technology is you don't have to drive to some other school district. If you find somebody that's got a great idea, you can just Skype with them or text with them and let them know that you would like an Arkansas mentor, because there will be a few things that are slightly different. You may not need it to be a good superintendent, but you may need to do it in order to get acquainted with the difference in the laws, like you said, the website and those kind of things. So
Yes, ma'am.
everybody all over the state and the state board are here to be of service and help, and not second guess you, but be there to help you in any way that you need.
And I will be reaching out. We're going to be having a back-to-school fair, which we're actually partnering with our fire department in the community. So that is also underway for the parents. So it's going to be, we're reaching out statewide to our legislators to participate in that as well. And many of them have already agreed to be a part of that. So we're already doing some work to bridge that gap with the community because we want them to be a part of the work that we do.
Good. Ms. Newton, Ms. Dean, Ms. Newton, Mr. Williamson, Mr. Blank, anything else? Dr. Wow.
I would like to highlight that a year ago, about this time, there was a great deal of turmoil in the Pine Bluff community related to a reduction in force. That I would like to sing some praise of Dr. Wallace and Ms. Smith in the sense that they have undertaken another RIF, and it was much better planned, and there was coordination with the board. And I would like to give Dr. Wallace just a moment to talk through that process. They are still losing students, and because of the declining student enrollment, they have been moving towards fiscal distress. And so Dr. Wallace and Ms. Smith in the cabinet took action this year. Last year, all the noise around the number of people that were being RIFed, in the end, it probably turned out to be less than 10 people. This year, the reduction in force is probably closer to 30, and without near the angst or the noise that went with last year. So,
And when we talk about 30, that was accomplished through attrition and retirement. The actual numbers was whittled down to 2. And one of those individuals was actually offered a position but declined. So we've gone from maybe 68 or whatever that number was last year down to 2. And our staffing, we did a much better job of staffing our buildings. And principals were involved, central office was involved, Dr. Weil was involved, and it worked well. We're well aware that we are under a microscope fiscally. And we had a projected ending balance of 6.2 million. And the projection now looks like about 5.8, but we're going to get there. And we've put things in place to make sure that we hold on to that $400,000 or $500,000 and not go below that magic number. But it's a collaborative effort. We certainly appreciate the support from Dr. Weil and his team, and it's been just so beneficial in a lot of ways in a lot of different areas. So the new superintendent will have the benefit of a model where he can reach out and call on the school improvement department for assistance and support. I will also say this, the turmoil that Dr. Weil referred to has just gone away. The Arkansas School Board Association has been instrumental there. We have had, I think, 3 retreats, don't hold me to that number, well attended by our board members, and we see the results in the behaviors and the positiveness. There is no longer a split board. They are pretty much consistently supportive many, many times, unanimously. So we think the board dynamics have really come a long way this past year, and that's good news for the incoming superintendent, because we both know what it's like to have a split board, and so he's not going to encounter that in Pine Bluff. Any other questions?
Anybody else? Thank you very much. We appreciate it. We wish you well. We are here to help and assist. We are not here to get you.
We understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn? No.
Yeah, we
Oh, sorry. I haven't. This is all new to me. We should have let Toyce do this meeting. No, she said. Okay. What do you need from us, Deb?
Move.
So, it's second.
It's been moved by Mr. Williamson, seconded by Ms. Newton. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
I think we're good.
Now we can leave?
Now we can leave.
Now do I hear a motion to
I
adjourn?
move that we leave.
Motion by Ms. Newton,
Second.
second by Ms. Dean. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.